In this video, we'll discuss the features on Marilyn Vos Savant's face that point to high intelligence and the capacity for logic and discernment. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. We've got this week for our face reading a woman named Marilyn Vos Savant. So if you're new to my face reading channel, welcome, but please, as always, go up here and watch the 5-minute crash course face reading video. If you're new to face reading, that's really important that you watch that so you understand what this is and what this isn't. Also, if you're finding value in my content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, share this with people who you think will find it interesting, leave comments, and anything you can do to get my videos out there is greatly appreciated. I had a number of people request that this woman be read. I did not know who she was. So I typed in the name, I pulled up some pictures, and before I knew anything about her, the first thing that leapt out to me about her facial features were her forehead and her eyes, but the forehead in particular. So as soon as I looked up the picture, I found out who she was. So I think she's one of the smartest people in the world, if not the smartest, according to IQ standards. The number that I saw was IQ of 228. So that's very high, obviously. You know, when you get into 160, you're approaching apparently genius level intelligence markers. There's lots of different types of intelligence, but in terms of that analytical book smart, this woman has very high intelligence in that bracket of intelligence. So that being said, the forehead, that was kind of cool to see, the congruency there, because the forehead in face reading is indicative of the mind. So if you look at this picture of her and her forehead, it's a very clean forehead, very well shaped, very square, very broad, very open. So again, if we think about that, the forehead, okay, being an external marker for the mind and how it operates, this follows suit. Now, there's a lot of people with broad foreheads and they don't have super high intelligence. They're not anything above average technically. So you can't look at facial features and say, well, you know, I know someone who has this forehead. Why aren't they a genius or a super genius? That's not the way to look at it. In the end, there are things inside that we are not going to be able to see on the outside, but in this particular case, it does link up. So we want to think that, you know, if the forehead is broad, it's wide, it's open, doesn't have a lot of interruption, this is going to be indicative of the clarity of mind, the expansiveness of thought, how rangy ideas can be, the ability to connect things and to link them. I tried to find some pictures of her where she was moving her face a bit more. There weren't a lot of photos. I wasn't able to do an inner persona and a public persona because there were no direct frontal shots without smiling, or her head wasn't tilted or anything. But this one picture, and I understand there's some word, there's a water graphic kind of over her forehead, but if you look at her forehead here, she has one really dominant connected forehead line across the top, but the other ones are cohesive and connected. So if you watch my content, you'll see me talk about this in other videos. Jordan Peterson has these lines. There are a number of people who are very sharp with their words, are able to string thoughts together, able to formulate things very well, and basically construct logical thought processes, and usually can express their ideas very well. So she has this marker as well, that big broad forehead with one dominant connected forehead line, which I found interesting given what we know about face reading. Now, the other thing when I was looking at her face were her eyes. I've talked about this also in my other videos. The eyes are a gateway to, or a portal to, the consciousness, to the mind or the soul or the spirit of a person. So when we look at her eyes, she has a very interesting blend between big and small, sort of medium-sized eyes. Now, when the eyes are broad and open, this can be very creative in the disposition. This can be sort of an open portal of entry, usually sort of an open book towards the personality. With her eyes, they're sort of in between squinting and open. And so when we see the squinty eyes, when we see this, when the eyes squint a lot, this is a person who has a lot of discernment usually. They are oftentimes looking towards the external world for discrepancies. They're willing to break things down. So Donald Trump has these eyes. He's very squinty. There's kind of almost an external projection of looking for things on the outside, again, to to reference Jordan Peterson. When he's debating and talking, he's also got these squinty eyes because he's very analytical in his thought process. So for her eyes, it's interesting, given that she has these eyes that are sort of squinty, which kind of points to that discernment quality. Now, she's also got some very strong, clean eyebrows. That's a wood feature. So we want to think on the faces of people that we're reading, there's going to be elemental proclivities. There's going to be a dominance of certain elements. So with Marilyn Vos Savant, and just a quick note on that, the fact that her last name is Savant is very ironic. I don't know if it was legally changed, but if she was born with that name, that's kind of funny. My mom actually had a dentist when she was a kid named Dr. Toothacher. I shit you not. And it was spelled kind of weird. It was like Tuth and something else, but it was pronounced Toothacher. Sometimes I think the universe has a sense of humor in terms of people, what they do with their lives and their names. That aside, though, going back to the elements, the forehead is a water feature, all right? And right here is wood. Okay, these are the wood metrics. So we see this proximity between wood and water. These are, in the 5-element cycle, fire, earth, metal, water, and wood, they are connected. So the way you can sort of look at her forehead is this like big, clean abode of water with strong wood here, which means there's a connection there between elemental rhythms. So she's got some dominant wood and water that connect in this forehead region. She's also got a fairly metallic face. So this is a face that is broad, open, with not a lot of interruption, not a lot of wrinkles, big open spaces. So metal energy also has to do with cleanliness of thought, cleanliness of environments. It also relates to spirituality and having that high vantage point perspective in life. So if we think about a mountain, right, what do mountains do? They're these big rock or granite formations that sit high in the heavens, and with that vantage point, that high perch, we can sort of see the long view in life. So metallic people usually have some kind of order or structure to their life terrain. My guess is here that order and structure really shows up in her thought processes. So very interesting in looking at her, and again, not knowing anything about her and being drawn to her forehead right out of the gates really points to some of the metrics of face reading and a person's life terrain being connected. So, with a face like this, if she were my lifestyle client, I would be saying the themes that are dominant are going to be definitely water, range, and depth of thought. That's a big key piece of the water metrics. And with that wood, there's also sort of a need to push that logic, that thought process into the world. That's what the wood means. So again, I didn't do a ton of reading on her backstory, what she's done with this intelligence. I'm sure it's been very helpful in her life. Smart people tend to do very well because they're intelligent. So interesting mix of features, but these are the most dominant things that I noticed about her. And I would also say, because she has so much metal, there would need to be a cleanliness to her environments as well. There's a lot of research about smart people sometimes being very messy, but if they are able to sort of tame that and get their environments cleaner, there are metrics and studies showing that those people actually do a bit better because they have a lot running through their head, and I'm guessing she does as well. So, in any case, this is my read on Marilyn Vos Savant. If you have questions, comments, please put them down below. And that's pretty much all I've got for today. Thanks a bunch.